Alright, this is going to be a really exciting video. I actually just recently had this revelation. This is a revelation that I just recently came to in life. Well, no, I've had this revelation before, but like it really was in my face recently. That's kind of why I want to talk about it while it's still fresh in my mind. And that is not judging someone is sometimes like better, like shaming somebody. Like, I don't know, I'm sorry. I feel like certain people should be shamed, but not judging someone sometimes is more shame than actually judging somebody. And I mean that in a way that I will soon get into, but let me talk about what I just said a second ago. I believe that if you are out of shape, if you're fat, if you are overall just, if you're fat, if you're gross looking, if you're unattractive, and you just look gross and you're just bad at talking to people, introverted, like I feel like there are traits that human beings should just be, like they should be standards that like are normal, like normality. A lot of people just aren't willing to live by or willing to go below the bar. Like, no, you should be shamed for things that are expected of you that you are trying to make not expectations anymore. Like, I'm no, there are things that people should be shamed for, and those are a few of them right there. But back to the topic at hand. Sorry. Not judging somebody at times is actually way more effective if you want them to change than judging them. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about somebody. Okay. I have a friend who, for the life of me, I could not get to exercise for the longest time. He just did not believe that look. He's one of those people who just like he's kind of like blue pill in a sense. Like he didn't believe looks mattered. He believed that he had the mindset where getting a girlfriend has nothing to do with looks, and if you work hard as a guy, that you can get any girl you want because men are the workers and women are the lookers. Very 60s way of looking at things. Like it does not work in this generation. The fact that people still have this like belief, like I don't know. Like, I feel like it could work, but if you want a 10, right? If you like want a girl, like I don't believe in tens, but like if you want a nine, let's say a nine. If you want a nine, and you think that just by working hard and like mind you, when I say working hard, he doesn't mean like becoming an entrepreneur, a millionaire, or someone who gets a lot of money. In reality, that you should be focused on your physical as well, but even if that was the case, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about somebody who works a 9 to 5 and is dedicated to their job, even if they're not making a lot of money. They're dedicated to their job, and women see that dedication and passion in their job, even if they're not making a lot of money. And women are like, yes, I want that. Like a man that works with his hands who doesn't get a lot of money, but he's still dedicated, even though he doesn't get a lot of money. That is stupidity. That is so dumb. Like, you're literally not only saying that you don't care about your looks, but that you actually don't care a lot about making a lot of money either. Like, what? That is literally the polar opposite of everything that you should be as a man. And as a person in general, not even as a man, as a person in general. And so that brings me to my point. He literally would not exercise, and I could not get him to exercise to the life of me because of the fact that he just simply didn't believe that looks mattered. And he just believed that all he had to do was keep his head down, work his 9 to 5, and that girl will just come to him. And I'm like, dude, that's not gonna work. Like, it's not. And he knew it. He was in denial. Like, you could tell he knew, but he just wanted to believe it because it was easier than making a change in his life. And so I was explaining to him that that didn't work, okay? Now, don't mistake that for I was on him every day about you need to get out there and exercise because, he's a little heavy set. He's not lean by any means. He has no abs, he has no bicep veins, he has no definition, he has no, like, shoulder slit, he has no obliques. He's not in shape. He doesn't work out. He's just a normal dude with a pudgy stomach, and, he's like, he's kind of short too, so, that isn't working for him either. Anyway, back to what I was saying though. I was not on him every day to exercise with me. I would exercise, and he would be there with me while I was exercising because, I hung out with this guy, and he was just a friend of mine, and I would always, I work out at home. I don't go to the gym. So I would be exercising at my house while he was over because, like, when people come over, I'll do my workout. Not to, like, flex in front of them or anything. Like, just to do it, like, because, it's a distraction. When someone's talking to you or, like, they're in, like, your backyard with you and you're working out, or you're there in your, like, dining room or living room with you and you're working out, it's like, it's a nice distraction. It helps you get it done. But anyway, every time he'd come over, he would like always comment on me. He'd be like, "Oh, you're still doing it? Oh, you're still at it? You're still going for the fitness thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Yeah, I am." And he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that's what's up." There was never any negativity towards it on either of our parts. Yes, that I think he needed to do it, yeah, but I wasn't gonna like just shame him for it. Because in my mind at the time, I was like, dude, why am I gonna make this guy feel bad about himself? He already probably has doubt in his own belief, and he's probably in conscious deniability, so why make him feel worse than he already probably does? I'm not gonna like hound him about it. So anyway, time went on, and by time I mean like months, literal months went on. And he would come to my house a lot, and I'd be working out every time he came over, and he'd be like, "Oh, like you're still at it." And not one time did I ever ask him to work out with me. Not one time did I ever look down on him. I think the most I ever judged him, like the most thing I did that you can consider judging him, and I put that in air quotes because it's not even really judging in my opinion, was that when he told me his logic on how he needs to get a girlfriend, like the thing I just explained to you about how he needs to just work his 9 to 5 with passion and the girl will come to him. I just pretty much told him, like, that's wrong, that's not the way it's gonna go, and I feel like you should make a change, but it's your life, but I'm just letting you know that that's not really the way it works anymore. And I wasn't saying that to just contradict him. I was saying that in a sense that, like, it's genuinely just not the way it works anymore. That's not how modern women view modern men, especially young modern women, the way they view young modern men. That's not what they want. They want you to be X, Y, and Z. They want you to be charismatic. They want you to be in good shape. They want you to be over 6 feet. That's a preference for some, but they want you to, like, your face to be top tier. They want you to be funny, charming, rich, insightful, just overall everything. And so I was explaining to him, it's like it's not like that anymore. And I think that's the most judgmental thing I ever said to him in these like months. So time went on, and this just happened recently, by the way. Time went on. I would like literally work. I made it a routine, not to shove it in his face, but to work out every time he came over, because we'd have good talks, because he's a pretty smart dude. He's a smart guy. He's just unmotivated, and his mindset is just a little off. But he's a really smart dude, so we'd have these like philosophical talks, and I'd be working out while we did. It was a good time. Now, last week, I'm working out. So my routine is I'll usually work out, and then a little while later I'll go for my run. And dude came over to my house, and he was like, hey, just talking like we normally do. But he came over, and he's like, he waits for me to finish my workout. And I'm like, all right, dude, I don't know if you want to take off or whatever, but I'm going to go run. And he goes, no, 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 no. I'm going to run with you. I'm running with you. And I was like, it kind of took me aback. I was like, whoa, 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 like, whoa, this is weird, it's weird. I was like, what do you mean you're, like, what, like, not to, like, deter him, but, like, what do you mean you're going to run with me? And he was like, I'm going to run with you. Like, I'm going to run. And I was like, okay, sure. Didn't question it. Didn't even question it, right? Because I'm like, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm not going to do that. So I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go, dude. So he did. He obviously wasn't too fast. Didn't kind of stop. Very slow. So but I was like, I don't care. See, at least he's out here getting it. So I'm going around, and I'm not trying to like demotivate him. So I'm like, I'm doing my normal pace because he was like, hey, don't go slow for me. Do what you do. I'm gonna do what I was like, all right, yeah, sure. So we ran. I think about like an hour, and after we were done, we're going back to my house because we went somewhere pretty close, so we just walked there. On our way back to my house, I don't bring it up at all because I'm like, I don't want this to stop. If this is like a new thing that I'm not gonna say anything to rock the boat. But he brings it up. He goes, last time we spoke, I've been thinking about what like you were saying and how, I took a look in the mirror and you're right. You're right. Like I see, you have like a good like physique, and he's like, I see like so there's this girl that I know that like I have like a thing with, but like he didn't know I had a thing with her when she was at the house the last time that he was at my house. And she like commented on my physique while I was working out. She was like, like you look sexy, like you have like a nice physique. And I was like, well, thank you. Like, like flirting. But like he didn't know that we were a thing, which was in a good thing because he thought that it was just some random girl flirting with me. Like we'd both known her, but it was some random girl to like just flirting with me out of nowhere for him. And that was like, that wasn't the case at all, but I wasn't going to say like that we had a thing going on because I wanted him to use that as fuel and motivation. But anyway, he went on to talk about how like it's funny, the last time we spoke, you and I left your house, and I kind of looked in the mirror, and I like remember seeing you because I work out without a shirt. And he's like, I remember looking at you, like your body, like not in a weird way, but like I compared it to mine, and I'm like flabby and everything. And he goes, you want to know what the one thing that really made me come out here and run with you today was, and really starting to get into like kind of fitness? And I was like, what? And he goes, something that I wouldn't even think of, that I wasn't even doing on purpose. He goes, every time I decided to make the wrong decision, you didn't correct it. Every time I made the wrong decision, whether it be in diet, in not working out, in being like just timid in general and not wanting to do something out of my comfort zone, you would never go, hey, you need to do this. And he goes, I have friends who will literally do that to me time and time again. They'll yell at me and be like, no, this is wrong. You can't be fat forever. You got to do this. You got to come out of your comfort zone. You got to work out. All these things, right? And he goes, and He goes, I don't blame them. I think they were doing it like in like a motivational way. They were trying to help me out. But every time someone would tell me that, it would just make me feel small, and it would make me feel like not wanting to do it. It would just make me mad, and it would make me offended, and it would make me want to rebel, you know? And I get it. His emotions were getting the better of him, and it would make him want to rebel, which was only hurting him, ironically, but, you know, so be it. But he told me, he goes, it made me feel, and he goes, no offense, but you made me feel 10 times worse about myself every time I went to make the wrong decision around you. Because there'd be times where I would make the wrong decision around you. He's telling you this. There are times I'd make the wrong decision around you just to see what you would do. And whenever I did it, you would look at me with no infliction or emotion and go, all right, bro, do your thing. You wouldn't correct me, you wouldn't shame me. And he told me, he goes, the fact that you didn't shame me was shame way more than, like, your silence spoke 1,000 words, because you not shaming me was literally the motivation I needed. Because by not shaming me, the only person who was shaming me was me in my own head. He told me, and I was like, I hadn't really thought about it like that until he said it. He goes, when other people shame me, it quieted the voice in my own head, and it was like another person scolding me for doing something. And it made me feel like when your parents scold like you when you were a kid. That's what he told me. Like when your parents see you doing something bad, and you know, they yell at you and scream at you, and it's like whatever. And so he brings up, okay, you ever had a time where you disappoint your parents and they're so upset with you if they don't yell at you? They just don't say anything and they let you make the decision, and you're kind of like, you want them to yell at you to get it out, and they refuse, and it makes you feel even worse because you're like, just yell at me, like I feel terrible. But they're like, no, we won't. We're just disappointed. We're not mad. We're just disappointed. He goes, that's what it made me feel like when you wouldn't correct me, when you wouldn't tell me that I was doing the wrong thing. It was like you were letting me do the wrong thing, but you were still disappointed in me, and you wouldn't tell me that you were disappointed in me. And that made me feel 10 times worse about myself than I ever have, so much to where it made me want to make a change. And dude has been exercising with me ever since. It has now been like a few weeks, and he has been killing it. Every day has been showing up, every day has been running with me, has been lifting weights, like he's been doing it with me. And I'm just like, wow, the literal act of doing nothing in this state was better than doing something. And there are things in life like that. Like, that's the lesson. There are things in life where sometimes if you just shut up and don't make a change, like not make a change, like if you don't, because you should always make a change, but if you don't react to certain things when it comes to like certain people in their situation, that could be the thing that makes that person better themselves. It's rare, but it can happen. That was proof that it can happen. Sometimes saying nothing is more shameful than saying something to somebody who's making the wrong choice. And at the same time, the other lesson to take from that is that pain is a powerful teacher. Pain is the best teacher. If a person feels worthless, truly worthless, they will change for the better. They have no choice. But I just found that so intriguing. The act of me not judging him like everyone else he told me had judged him was the one thing that made him change. And that's what I got for you guys this time. You guys have a good night.